What's up, Knicks fans? Welcome to another edition of the KFS pregame show. It's your boy GMAC. He's XJ. He is Mensa, aka greater than Zach Wilson. That was not your name tag before. That was really good. I agree, first of all. And we are here to preview the Knicks' upcoming matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Knicks are 8-9 and currently sit at 9th place in the Eastern Conference, I believe, the last I checked. As far as announcements for tonight, in case you missed it, Derrick Rose is out after injuring one of his right toes yesterday. Yes, I said one of, because Fred Katz apparently can't fathom that if he needs to know which toe. So we will just specify that it's one of his right toes. And Cam Reddish is still out with a sore left groin. So it'll be fascinating to see as the show goes on who ends up being in the starting five, what the rotation decisions look like, and going forward. Before we get into tonight's game, we like to start every episode by recapping something from the most recent game. And in a spirit of being different, I'm going to try and avoid the hot button topics that we just continue to talk about every time we do this. So, XJ, I'll go to you first and say Quentin Grimes got the start the other night and looked pretty good. Had a career high 8 assists in his minutes. And while the shot wasn't falling, really wasn't falling for everybody. What did you think of what you saw from Quentin Grimes in his start on Sunday?
Yeah, but first I want to pivot to Tibbs and RJ. No, I'm
Thank you.
Just trying to get AC's blood pressure up.
And don't worry,
while
you
he's
didn't
not watching any Jets games.
I was gonna say you didn't lose to the Patriots on Sunday, so you can't do any worse than that.
Right, you can't do worse than that. No, I love what I saw out of Quentin Grimes. I mean, we talked about this a couple pregame shows ago. People seem to be jumping off the Quentin Grimes boat for some reason, even though he hasn't played and has been hurt. Really strange. What we saw from him is that he definitely has playmaking ability, which is something that we needed to see from him, that we're seeing. We know the jump shot's going to be there, whether he goes 1 for 5 or 1 for 7 in a given game. We know the jumper's going to be there. We know he's going to shoot close to 40%. Like, I feel very confident he's going to shoot close to 40% throughout his career. The playmaking we weren't sure about. We saw a little bit of that in the preseason, and now we're seeing it right in front of us. And, I feel really excited about it. The fact that he had 8 assists, I think it was 8 assists, right?
8 assists, career high 8 assists.
8 assists, and I forget who it was. Someone, it might have been Benji that tweeted out RJ's career high is 8 assists. He had it on 2 occasions in his rookie season.
You know who it was.
Who was it?
It was Mr. Jonathan Macri.
It was yes. Macri. Gotcha. Okay. Yes. But and not to compare the two, but just the point is that it's tough to get 8 assists in an NBA game, especially based on the minutes that he was playing. And I think that's really impressive, and it speaks really highly of what we're going to see moving forward. I think we'll see a lot more tonight with one of our point guards out, and I'm excited to see it. Don't jump off the Quentin Grimes boat. I'm taking your name down if you're off, just so you know.
Yeah, so we know what happens when XJ takes names. Once you get a modicum of success, everybody has to hear about it, unfortunately. We won't talk about OB's most recent regression, by the way. I promise. Don't worry.
We can talk about it.
We can? Okay.
There's not much to say about it. All I would say is, for sure, the last 2 games, OB has looked how he looked in the first 30 games of his rookie campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Really strange, not really easy to explain just based on any statistical analysis or looking at his play. He just looks pretty lost. And I don't know if there's, I would wager there's probably something going on in personal life is kind of what I would guess. Just because it doesn't look like his game is off. He looks just really lost and really out of sorts just generally. And that's how he looked the first 30 games of his rookie season. So I don't expect that to be a long-term trend or anything like that. We've seen a large enough sample size over, the subsequent 50 games of his first season and then the last couple of years to know that, who the real Obi Toppin is. So, yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a blip, couple games.
Yeah, believe me, I was mostly kidding. I was still, though, it's noticeable, the regression in his shot making, especially his 3-point shooting. There's a
I don't really look at the shot making, though, to be honest. I'm looking at his mannerisms. Yeah, okay. Exactly. All that stuff looks completely off. So I expect the shot making to come and go with that. Yeah.
we got there's apparently a bug going around the Knicks too, so you don't know if he caught slightly a bit of it. They are on a Western Conference trip, so dealing with altitudes and different sea levels and Utah and all the above. So there are factors to it. Mensa, let's see. I'm not gonna let you talk about RJ again. I'm not gonna let you talk
Never again.
I'm not gonna let you talk about Zach Wilson yet. What did you think of Deuce McBride? We got to see him in the second half after Derrick Rose went out. What did you think of the minutes with Deuce McBride and your overall feelings since we might see him again of the minutes you want to see from Deuce McBride?
Deuce McBride is currently a one-way player, and
Okay.
that one way is really, really, really needed on a team that doesn't put the requisite effort out on defense, specifically night in and night out. He's a really good change of pace, which has kind of been the basically every draft pick that we've had, not name Obi Toppin or the guy we took in 2019, who I will not name for now. Has been playing really, energetic defense, and it's been good to see especially with Quentin Grimes, but Deuce McBride also picked it up on that end. Unfortunately, I am not certain that Deuce McBride is an NBA player just because the offense isn't consistent enough. And as a guard specifically, if you can't create advantages or hit open shots, then there really isn't much room for you on the floor. He can do it in the G League, of course, but on an NBA court, I just don't know if it's consistent enough as yet, and especially because Quickly isn't necessarily the advantage creator we would like to see. Like if we could play Deuce like in a DeAnthony Melton role, like kind of like as an off ball guard, that's great. But to answer your question, Deuce did what I expect Deuce to do, which is to come in and play high energy defense and hit a couple shots. But I have to say I'm a Deuce McBride skeptic when it comes to his offense.
XJ, you a Deuce McBride skeptic, or do you lean more toward the believer side of things?
I think so. I lean more towards a believer. I don't think he's ever going to be like a prolific offensive player, but I think he's so high end on the defense. I think his 3-point shot will come around. So I think he'll be like a 3-and-D solid backup point guard in his career. I feel very confident that the 3-point shot is going to come around. We've seen glimpses of it. We've seen in the G League. We've seen in the preseason games. I think his 3 will come around, and if he has that with his defense, I think he'll be able to stick around the NBA for a while.
Well, he's going to get an opportunity tonight. Again, if you're just tuning in, Derrick Rose is out tonight with his first injury of the season, I believe. He's come on slow from the ankle injury that he had surgery on last season. So we'll see what that looks like. Mensa, somebody else played on the Suns game was yesterday. So much has happened in the last 24 hours. This felt that I wonder what else could have happened, Mensa, in our lives that we were focusing on or reacting to or showing outrage over. Mitchell Robinson came back from injury and played his first game in a couple weeks. Not only did he play, but he played the most of any center yesterday, even though he came off the bench, and all 3 centers played yesterday, and there was garbage time. What do you make of Mitchell Robinson, and more specifically the log jam, if you want to call it, at center at the moment? There are 3 centers on the roster, and yet we all want to see Obi play some at the 5. What do you make of this situation?
It feels like a failure on the front office. You had a chance to move Mitchell Robinson for anything, and you brought him back. And then you went and you brought in Isaiah Hartenstein, who I love and adore. But we also have Jericho Sims, and we also have Obi Toppin and Julius Randle, who need to play together because they are maybe 2 of the 4 or 5 biggest investments this franchise has made since they've been here. Speaking of the front office. So Mitchell Robinson is what he is. I know a lot of people love Mitchell Robinson for his potential on defense, but we have seen that the Knicks defense can hold up without Mitchell Robinson. Not so much this year, but to your credit, Andrew, you do often mention that the defense gets off to a slower start. I remember the best defense that I've seen under Tom Thibodeau had a guy named Nerlens Noel, and Mitchell Robinson was out for half of the season. So I don't really buy that he is necessary on this roster, but we have him. So hopefully he can block shots, get rebounds, and not get in the way of our offensive players too much.
So I don't think I'm betraying any confidences here because everybody that I'm about to talk about has said this stuff publicly. But can I give you guys a little inside baseball? So
Peace.
the KFS group chat, that's just me, Benji, Chris, John, and Jeremy, was active yesterday. Benji's really frustrated by the contract, and Jeremy, the capologist that he is like, because the contract's descending, it increases in value as you go forward, and then the response is like, yeah, but that doesn't solve the logjam. We have all these players and not so many rotation minutes, and my biggest takeaway from anybody that's frustrated with Mitch playing, or Mitch still on the team right now, or even the contract that he got, is way more like, this consolidation trade is coming. It almost feels like it's gonna happen before the All-Star break. I don't know how you guys feel, and like the season could go a different direction, so it's tough to say anything now. If you read the Woj article from the weekend about the Nets, it seems like they're gonna set the pace for what the trade season and trade deadline even looks like. So the Nets will have a month to try and show that they're a good team, a competent team, and contenders. And if they're not, they're gonna blow it up in January. And as Durant, as Kyrie, as whoever becomes available, other teams will get involved. Other teams in the Windy City might potentially get involved in trading some of their players. Is that a fair assessment, Mensa? We'll start with you. That like the Knicks have legitimately 12 guys for 9 spots right now. That's a knock on the front office for having not consolidated correctly, but it's also like, it's not a terrible problem to have. It is a problem to have, though, that they have too many guys worthy of playing time available to them right now.
I would argue that it is a bit more significant a problem than people would assume, because yeah, it's good to have good basketball players, but it's also like, when you have so many of them, when you look at it like the Mitchell Robinson contract, when you look at that contract as like in a vacuum as an asset, it's probably a net positive. But when you look at it, in totality with this roster, it gets in the way of things, right? And we could say the same thing about Julius Randle's contract. We can say the same thing about Evan Fournier's contract. Like, if you have one of these deals on your books, it's not the end of the world. But when you start to have 3 and 4 the way the Knicks do, and you have all of these players who don't necessarily fit together, like if Mitchell Robinson could shoot threes, then we wouldn't be complaining about him, because he would fit within the offense and he'd be worth this contract. But he can't shoot threes. Neither can Jericho Sims. They both do the same thing. And it's like, you can't get the maximum value out of all 12 of your players, because they can't all play. And when they do play, they're playing in positions that are not necessarily beneficial to them. I would say with it, for a bit, you can say that about everybody on this roster except for Quentin Grimes and Jalen Brunson. Everybody else is a clunky fit at best, is what I would say. Maybe not Obi, but Obi is behind Julius Randle. So
a clunky fit. Yeah.
I would hope that a consolidation trade is coming, but I think it speaks much larger to the Knicks, like the front office's philosophy of accumulating assets and without regard to how these assets fit within the team construct.
XJ, what about you?
Yeah, so this is probably the most lockstep that Mensa and I have been. Like, I agree with 100% of everything that you just said. I'm really worried that the consolidation trade that comes is going to be the wrong one. That's really a big concern of mine, because I think what the front office has done consistently is they've made good non-moves, but then they've also made bad non-moves. I think they've erred on being too conservative. I wanted to trade Mitchell Robinson desperately by the trade deadline last year, because once he was here through that period, he was going to get re-signed. There was no other way around it. They weren't going to just lose out on that value. So they signed him for a decent value contract, but it creates this logjam. And I think that they keep forgetting about that part of it, right? They're like, okay, well, we want to maximize all value here, but then they're forgetting about the on-court piece of it. And it's a really strange thing. It continues to feel like this disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff, where there's not like one coherent plan. So trading Mitchell last year by the trade deadline was, like, I thought, something critical. And even the year before, like Mensa was talking about, I would have been fine with moving him at that point too. And his value continued to go down until it's like, okay, now you have no value for trading him. The only value you'll get out of him is re-signing him. So I think it's an okay contract. I don't see them moving him. I see them doing either a bad consolidation trade or like kicking the can down the road, something like trading quickly for like a first round pick, which I think is, equivalent to kicking the can down the road and like in a way that doesn't actually help them moving forward. So I'm feeling increasingly concerned that they're going to do a panic move, not a panic move like trading for Anthony Davis or something where they like move all of their assets and do something dumb, but a panic move where it's like, we're going to kick the can down the road and just give up on like for the sake of like clearing out a quote unquote log jam instead of doing moves that they could have done previously when they were being overly conservative and not pulling the trigger. So that's really my big concern moving forward.
I think, Mensa, you just said it. In a vacuum, like Evan Fournier is probably a bit of an overpay, but you do that for shooting, but not when you have like a Quentin Grimes and then you go ahead and trade for Cam Reddish and you have an Emmanuel Quickly and you have other wing options available. Like the Julius Randle extension off an All-NBA season isn't terrible in a vacuum, but when you just invested the 8th pick in the draft on a poor power forward and you have a coach that refuses to play them together until things got desperate this year, then it doesn't look great. And as far as the centers go, like Mitchell Robinson in a decreasing contract as the cap is going up in a vacuum is fine until you factor in that Jericho Sims is probably an NBA player at this point. Not probably. I was hinting toward NBA starter, but he's definitely an NBA player at this point. And you have Isaiah Hartenstein, and you need to find minutes for Obi and Randall to play together. Yeah, there's a logjam on this roster. That panic trade, XJ, that I don't. So Anthony Davis, it's solely health base. He is balling right now. The problem I have is he just like, you don't make a trade like that unless you also have a LeBron James on your roster, unless you also have like, you're ready to win a title now. So let's maximize and get Anthony Davis, which is like the entire conversation around Donovan Mitchell all over again, So yeah, that would be a panic trade. I agree with you. And I don't think I'd be able to talk myself into it the way that I would have with Donovan Mitchell, but we'll see. We did it. We made it through an entire opening segment without talking about the hot button issues. I'm proud of all of us, guys. I'm proud of each and every one of us here. Let's preview the upcoming matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But first, let's talk about our good friends over at WynnBet. Download the WynnBet app now or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download, bet, win. In a little bit, we're going to do betting and sweating. Our regular segment where we each make picks for tonight's game based off the lines available on wynnbet.com. But I've usually been telling you a preview of the Oklahoma City, of the upcoming matchup and the opponent and all their top fives and what their stats are. And I actually went ahead and rewatched our pregame show, Mensa, yesterday. Doesn't always come out as clear. So figure a visual might be good. The Oklahoma City Thunder are 7-9 on the season. Overall, they are 4-3 at home. They've won 3 of their last 5. They are top 5 in the NBA in turnover percentage. They rarely turn the ball over. They're 3rd in pace. Oh my gosh, does this team play fast? And it's why they are 1st in field goals made per game, 1st in field goals attempted per game. And then points off of turnovers. They usually convert the turnovers that they get into points. They are bottom 5 in the NBA, and this is where the Knicks and all of their centers might be able to capitalize as long as they're not giving up 150 points again. Defensive rebound percentage, they're 24th, which isn't top 5, but it's close as I could get. The rebound percentage overall, they are 25th. They're the opponent's second chance points, which makes sense because they're not great at rebounding. Opponents' points in the paint, yeah, because they're not great in rebounding, but doesn't mean they have a lot of good guys down low. And then free throws attempted per game, they do not take a ton of free throws. And then SGA, he's a player spotlight for today. He is averaging 31 points, 4.6 rebounds, 5.9 assists on 53, 41, 91 shooting as the Oklahoma City Thunder. And before we get into their game and what to expect from them today, we're going to hit you guys with some trivia. So, Mensa and XJ, the Oklahoma City Thunder have SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is averaging, as I just mentioned, a 50-40-90 season on 21 field goal attempts per game. He would be one of 6 players in NBA history, if this holds up throughout the rest of the season, to accomplish this feat. So there have been 6 players to average average at least 50% from the field, at least 40% from 3, and at least 90% from the free throw line on at least 21 field goal attempts per game. Excuse me, I lowered the threshold because very few have done it. On at least 15 field goal attempts per game. So can you name the other 5 players to do it?
Let's go Steph Curry.
Steph Curry.
Yeah,
Steph Curry did it in 2016. He's doing it right now.
I was going to say, does he have multiple seasons where he's done it? Or
it's
no?
this season and then 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we say
Malcolm Brogdon?
Not enough field goal attempts.
Not enough field goal.
Yeah,
attempts.
but
Larry
he did
Bird.
do it. He did do it. Larry Bird did it twice.
Okay.
22 field goal attempts and then 20 field goal attempts.
I
in
think
the
Kevin
88
Durant did it
season and the 87
in 2014.
season. Kevin Durant did it in 2013, but you're close.
13.
Yes,
Okay.
he averaged 50-40-90 on 17 field goal attempts. There are 2 more.
Ray Allen?
No. Good guess, though. Not enough field goal
Reggie
attempts.
Miller.
Not enough field goal attempts. Not a crazy efficient shooter either.
Okay.
Just in the 90s, it was first to 80. So
50, 40, 90.
one player has been in the news a lot this season.
Kyrie Irving.
Yeah,
I was thinking Kyrie, but
2021,
I wasn't sure about
20 field goal attempts that season, shot 51-40-92.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Kyrie's so good.
It's like, listen, strictly basketball. Kyrie Irving's outstanding. Yes.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's one more.
One more.
He's a foreign player. No, let me be clear because we have a lot of people overseas watching us. He's not an American player.
Let's go Dirk Nowitzki.
Dirk Nowitzki nailed it, Mensa.
Nice
2006,
hit.
right?
Nice hit.
Or 2007.
06-07, the year he won MVP, 50% from the field, 42% from 3, 90% from the free throw line on 17 field goal attempts per game. That's the 50-40-90 club, folks. So, XJ, what are you looking for in this matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder?
So I think the Thunder matchup is actually a good matchup for the Knicks. I think it didn't work out last time, but I believe that was an aberration. The Thunder don't have a ton of great 3-point shooters. They're kind of like middling average as a team, and they don't shoot a ton of them. They mostly want to get into the paint. So I think that actually plays into the style of defense that the Knicks play. It's like, this is actually the team that the pack the paint defense should be effective for. We didn't see it work because a lot of guys were hitting threes like Dortz and a couple other guys on the team that don't actually make threes at a high rate. They were hitting them last game. So I think the Knicks should just play the same way that they were playing before. I was looking up some SGA stats. He averages 24.4 drives per game, which is number 1 in the NBA. He lives in the paint. And I think this is the style of defense that we can actually exploit to our advantage if we do it the correct way. One thing that happened last game as well, besides OKC making a bunch of threes that you wouldn't expect them to make, I hate to say it, but Randall was glaringly bad at the defensive scheme, at executing it correctly, because many times he wasn't guarding his man at the 3, but he also was out of position to help on SGA drives. So it was like, he was like in no man's land a ton of times. RJ was getting really roasted by SGA. My one issue, I would take the Knicks, and we'll talk about this in betting and sweating. I would take the Knicks money line. I'm considering it, but one thing I'm worried about is Cam not playing, because I think their only chance is to put Cam on SGA. I think that he is going to be a tough matchup for Grimes or for RJ. So that's one thing I'm worried about. But I think the Knicks can fare well in this matchup, and I don't think they should be a huge underdog.
So when the Knicks have given up a ton of threes this season, it's usually been like one guy on the other team got hot, like Kevin Love, just like decided he's gonna make every 3 tonight. Who is the?
I don't necessarily agree with that, because Dean Wade also got hot in that game.
But
too.
That's my point. Is like there's a guy that takes 9 threes and makes a bunch of them. Is what I'm saying. In that OKC game, I have the box score up now. Nobody took more than 5 3-pointers. that game, and nobody made more than 2. It was a spread out attack, and they went 17 of 31, which, as XJ, as you said, it's an anomaly, if you will. This is not a team that lives and dies by the 3. They honestly, they run you off the court is what they do. They play at a very high pace and make a ton of shots, and they take a ton of shots. And they have a really great player right now that's having an all NBA season. Mensa, where are you leaning with this one? What sticks out to you as far as strategy for the Knicks tonight?
If the Knicks try hard, they should be able to win. But basketball a lot of times comes down to who is the most talented player on the court. And this season, that is SGA by far. Josh Giddey is also like really good, and nobody talks about him, even though he was picked 6th overall last year. They don't have anything in the paint at all, but that has worked against the Knicks for a specific reason, because when Julius Randle believes he has a mismatch, nothing else matters, and he goes straight into long two Julius, and we don't like long Julius over here.
Julius.
we're not very
on a roll today, Mensa.
So and then I think Trey Mann is playing, and Trey Mann is like a small, shifty guard who I would assume his first step would give some trouble to a guy like Jalen Brunson. Our hope our hope all lies in Quentin Grimes and how many minutes he plays, and if he is like in foul trouble, because I think Quentin Grimes has the chops defensively to slow down SGA, and if you can slow down SGA, which nobody's been able to do this season, let's be very clear about that. Then you have a chance. Oklahoma City at home. I think RJ tends to play well against Oklahoma City in their building. I think last year he played really well against them, especially against. So with RJ Barrett, when he has a strength advantage, he goes to work. And Oklahoma City being a young team, they don't really have the same grown man strength as RJ. It really hasn't been showing up this much at all this year, to be honest, because the schedule's been tough and it's a whole bunch of just going on with RJ. So this game could go either way, but I always have to lean with what I know. And what I know is SGA is like a top 6 performer in the NBA this season, and it's hard for the Knicks to beat guys like that.
To that point, and we went through this yesterday at Mensa, so I'm going to walk XJ through it, because I actually, now that we got some time, there's a disturbing trend that may just be more obvious than I realized it in years past, but like every game the Knicks have won this year, the other team hasn't had the best player on the floor, so let me just go through it. The games the Knicks have won: Detroit, Knicks had the best player on the floor. Orlando, Knicks had the best player on the floor. Charlotte without LaMelo, Knicks had the best player on the floor. Philadelphia without Harden or Embiid, same thing. Minnesota's the only one, but the way that they played that night, and Julius doing what he did, like hitting those 8 threes and then like Brunson going off. So that's like the only anomaly here, that technically Cat was the best player on the floor. Anthony Edwards was the best player, but the Knicks like hit a ton of threes. So that's the only one that stands out here. But then you keep going. Detroit, again, the Knicks. Utah, it's for me a toss-up between Markkanen and Jalen Brunson and the way that Julius played this week. Although that game he wasn't great. And then the Denver game, Julius played like the best player on the floor, and they were missing Jokic. So that's how the Knicks win games, is when the other team doesn't have the best player. And then you go through their losses: Memphis, John Morant, Milwaukee, Giannis, Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, Atlanta, Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. Pick a Boston guy: Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, SGA in OKC, Steph Curry and Devin Booker. So that leads me to tonight when they play SGA. And it's also going to lead us into betting and sweating. There's just a trend with the Knicks that if there's one guy that they need to stop that night, it's near impossible for me to expect that they're going to stop him or that they're going to be able to defeat that person's team. This would be the first, I think, if they were to do that. XJ, do you have any pushback to that?
The pushback that I have to that is that I think what you're noticing could just be more of a correlational trend. So what I actually hear when you're talking about that is they're losing to like good teams, and good teams tend to have really good players, and they're beating bad teams.
Is OKC a good team?
OKC overperformed the last game, and OKC is one of the few teams I think who is being like dragged along by a superstar player right now. And of those teams that you just mentioned, probably the only one actually of the good teams that they've lost to. Ja Morant doesn't drag Memphis. Bane is, if you look at the advanced metrics, is just as good as Ja has been this year. Even Donovan Mitchell doesn't drag Cleveland. Phoenix, Booker wasn't even amazing the last game, right? Like these are not teams that are being dragged along by a superstar player. The only one you could say that for is OKC. And I think that's more of an outlier than a trend. I think the trend is that they're losing the teams that are really good, and they happen to have really good players.
Only pushback I'd give to that is Brooklyn, when the Knicks played them, was in the middle of disarray.
And since then, they've been really good.
Since then, so you're welcome, Brooklyn, that the Knicks got your team kickstarted this season. It only took 11 games and a coach's firing and other things that might have happened to that team this season.
Just from a data perspective, I'm careful about noticing trends like that, because there's often like correlational confounding factors that are happening, and I would say they're just it's too small a sample size to feel like they're just losing to superstar players. It more so seems to me that they're losing to like really good teams.
Well, from a gambling perspective, I'm not putting the Knicks money line in anything tonight. Let's get to betting and sweating as the Knicks take on the Oklahoma City Thunder one more time. Download the WynnBet app now and visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download Bet Win. Again, that's WYNNBET.com. Shout out to the fine folks over at WynnBet. So this live line for the New York Knicks, they are the line has gotten better since I first looked at it this afternoon. It was +3 when I first started. It's down to +1 for the game. Mensa, that changes my thoughts on. I would take the Knicks +1 tonight as opposed to +3.
I think if you're taking +1, you might as well take the money line.
Well, you might as well take the money line at that point. Yeah, it's better odds. Yeah, I'm just saying the fact that it's now basically a pick'em means that people that are betting think the Knicks are in play. So the money line is +100 and the over-under is 228. The player props that stick out, Josh Giddey, who has a triple-double in back-to-back games against the Knicks. His over-under for the game is 15 points. Jalen Brunson, who's coming off of 27 points against the Phoenix Suns. His over-under is 20.5 for point totals. Julius Randle against a team that doesn't rebound a ton and have a lot of answers to stop him down low, is at 21.5. And then XGA, who was averaging 31 a game and had 37 the last time they played the Knicks, is at 30.5 in points. The RJ Barrett line not available yet. I also forgot to mention this. Knicks have announced their starting lineup for tonight's game. Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson are starting for the New York Knicks tonight. So Mitch is back in the starting five. All right. XJ, where are you leaning for betting and sweating?
So I kind of wish there was a player prop for Quickly. I think Quickly's going to have a big game. I think he's going to play a ton of minutes tonight without Derrick Rose. And then I'm thinking, so I was already feeling like the Knicks should win this game. I'm sad to see the line move so much towards my direction. I was thinking, if you go to the alternates, should I do something big? I've been a little bit of a skid on the picks lately, and I was thinking something like Knicks -8.5, like something like Knicks to win in a little bit of a blowout.
Yo, if you're feeling froggy, go ahead and jump, my friend.
So you gotta drop that down. I want to see what the line is now. The show more.
So the line is the show more.
Yeah, that's OKC. I'm looking for the last one right there. What is that? -8.5.
-8.5 for the Knicks is +280.
See, that's not big enough for me. I think it was bigger earlier. I'm just gonna go vanilla Knicks money line because I think they're gonna win this game.
All righty, Knicks money line for XJ. Mensa, what about you?
I'm thinking I don't think the Knicks win this game. I'm just gonna be honest, but with Mitch back and with Quentin Grimes, I was leaning Shai Gilgeous-Alexander points under. I don't think he scores 31 points tonight. I think the combination of Mitchell Robinson being in the paint and the irritant that is Quentin Grimes on defense should slow him down enough that he'll still have a good game, but I don't think he goes off on us the way he did last time.
Okay, so you've got SGA under. So I went into this looking at rebounds and thinking the Knicks could get a ton of rebounds tonight. When I went to player props and saw Randall's rebounds for tonight, it was 8.5, but it's minus 125. That's not, doesn't wet my beak enough, doesn't really lure me in, so I went to the player combos, and Randall points and rebounds tonight. You can get 30 from minus 130, which isn't great. 35 plus 190. So I just have to stick with Old Faithful and go down to points, rebounds, and assists. Julius Randle at 35 is plus 105. So Julius Randle, 35 points, rebounds, and assists. I'm begging him to play like he did right after the dinner and not whatever the hell yesterday was. Your Cowboys won 40-3 yesterday, Julius Randle. You should be very happy, and you should take it out on OKC. That's what should happen. So I will go that direction. Did we get a pick from Sean? Guys?
I didn't notice one.
I didn't notice one.
Yeah, I didn't see one either. I mean, we picked for him yesterday and it cashed, so.
That is very true. Yes, we picked one for him yesterday. All right, so let's pick one for Sean. So let's go through this. 3-pointers. Is there an under that you like for 3-pointers? Maybe. Oh, I know the under to take. Unfortunately. So RJ Barrett 1 3-pointer is 667. Unfortunately,
no, that's 1+. Yeah,
I was 1 3-pointer. I'm saying 1 3-pointer. So if he just hits one, is minus 667. So there's no point in taking that.
No, there's no point in taking that.
And there's no RJ under for points for the game, unfortunately. Game props, defense. Emmanuel quickly steals. You think Emmanuel quickly can get 2 steals?
I like Oklahoma City's ball handlers.
They don't turn it over enough.
Yeah, that is very true. We went over it. Yeah. See, this is why we put the graphic up, folks. There you go. Shout out to Mitchell Robinson blocks.
Yourself.
Yeah, shout out to me. All right. He likes to do these first half lines. Do you think the Knicks will be winning at halftime, fellas?
I mean, I think so, but
all right.
Mensa's not confident about it.
You don't?
I'm not a fan. Do they have the second quarter?
The second quarter, they do not. Oh, no, it's in quarters. Never mind. I should go there.
What second
live
quarter money
podcast?
line?
Second quarter point spread and money line. It's minus 105, which is meh.
I mean, it's not much different.
Second quarter points. The pace for today might be. This is a team that the Knicks scored 50 points in the first quarter the last time they played.
I like the second quarter points.
Yeah.
What is that? Over 59 is what?
Over plus 59 100? Is plus 100. Yeah. All right, Sean, your betting and sweating for today is over under 59 points in the second quarter. Okay. That's the line he's going with. All right, congrats, Sean. You're locked in. So the 4 we got for today. Julius Randle, points, assists, and rebounds, at least 35 is plus 105. The Knicks money line for the game goes to XJ at plus 100. Mensa is under 30.5 points for SGA. That's minus 120. And then Sean gets over under 59 points in the second quarter total. So he got over 59 points in the second quarter, but for the Knicks and the Thunder. That has been betting and sweating. The parlay, as you can see, is plus 1,403 for this parlay. If you want to bet all 4 of us, you only cashed it once, but you never know, as they say, or I don't know who they are. You never know, is the point. Any other final thoughts before we head to OKC, fellas? XJ, we'll start with you.
Just that Cam is a big loss in this game. I think he would have been really essential to be on SGA. But I think the Knicks will make a concerted effort to keep him out of the paint. So I could see SGA hitting a few more threes than he would otherwise. But I do like them in this game. I like their scheme for this like the single team that I like this scheme against. That it actually didn't work last time, which is really funny. Yeah, and I see a big game for Quickly as well.
Okay, Mensa, any final thoughts?
My brain is a little cloudy because of what happened yesterday in American football. But
Yes.
as far as this game goes, I think SGA is really good, but I also believe that the Knicks are finally equipped defensively to stop a guy like him who spends a lot of his time in the paint, and we have a paint monster in Mitchell Robinson. So while I don't think the Knicks will win the game, because like they should, the Knicks should absolutely win this game, but where their effort has been the past couple like games on defense specifically, a team like Oklahoma City that's well coached is very likely to give you one. So I really don't know how to feel about this game. I don't know how to feel about the Knicks right now, but I'm actually talking myself into believing that the Knicks should win because there's no reason other than like the Knicks will let themselves down. So I can't see it happening again. The Knicks just got beat pretty soundly against Golden State and Phoenix. Not so much Golden State because they were in the game, but they weren't really in the game. But with Oklahoma City, we should win this game. We should win this game because their main advantage creator is going to have a really tough time dealing with Quentin Grimes and Mitchell Robinson in the paint.
So I agree. I co-signed with all of that. We're going to wrap up today's pregame show with a poll from someone that posted a poll on twitter.com at 8:14 this morning. This comes from at JC Macri NBA, inspired by Andrew J. Claudio _ very emo appearance on today's KFS pod. A question for anyone who roots for both the Knicks and Jets. I'm sure all of these people root for the Knicks and Jets, and that's who voted, right? Who is destroying your soul more right now? Zach Wilson or RJ Barrett? Anybody who voted is for RJ is not a Jets fan. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Clearly,
anybody who voted is not a Jets fan. And this, we're talking on this show right now, the number one RJ Barrett supporter. And I'm sorry, there's nothing destroying our souls more than Zach Wilson right now.
So for those who don't root for the New York Football Jets, congratulations.
Yeah,
because
congrats.
you've avoided some misery in your life. But imagine the we hear. Remember how frustrating the we hear Knicks were because of one Alfred Payton? Now imagine if the we hear Knicks were like an actual championship contender and could have like really done some things if they had a Jalen Brunson, for example, at point guard. That's where the New York Jets are. The New York Jets have one of the 3 best defenses in the NFL. They did not give up a single touchdown. They give up 3 points to the special teams unit. In Foxborough, which is a very hard place to win, the Jets defense balled out. They, in my opinion, they have multiple all-pro first-team selections on that defense. And the run game, when it's good, is good. Zach Wilson and the New York Football Jets had 2 total yards on offense in the second half of that game. There is no way RJ Barrett can affect the game as negatively as Zach Wilson is currently affecting a season for the New York Jets. Because if we're being honest, if the New York Jets had an average quarterback, we'd probably be sitting somewhere around like 7-2, 8-1. Like we'd be a lot better. No, we're 6-4 right now. We'd be
Mensa,
like 8-2, 9-1. We would
Mensa,
be.
If you played quarterback for the Jets, they'd be 8-2, 9-1 right now. Okay,
it's a joke. It's very shameful, and I hope that I read an article this past week that the Las Vegas Raiders may be considering outright releasing one Derek Carr. If they do that, I need the Jets to be all over it because Derek Carr is like good at football. Zach Wilson is very, very bad. He's not good. Let's just say that. And it's not like with RJ Barrett, there's a level of rootability with RJ Barrett. Like you want to see RJ Barrett do well because of his character, because of his hard work. Zach Wilson, he does at this point, there are no redeeming qualities for this guy.
Yeah,
he doesn't accept accountability. He has this like punchable face. It's just it's very frustrating. Listen.
No, he does have a very punchable face. XJ, as an
an
unbiased observer, how do you feel?
Well, I'm low-key a Dolphins fan, so Zach Wilson makes me happy right now. because I'm happy to
know.
see the
I get it.
situation
I
that
get it.
they're in, and Jets could have been first place, but instead Dolphins are in first place. I can't complain about that. I think I've heard Jonathan Macri and a few others kind of not be the highest on RJ's kind of public relations polish, so to speak. I think when comparing to Zach Wilson, you would take RJ Barrett's public relations polish.
But that's it. I need you to lie to me. That's all this is. I need you to just learn how to lie to me. And because you can't execute a simple talking point on the layup. Yeah, it's on me. I lost us the game. This is on me. And I feel bad because our defense killed it today. It's all you had to do. And because you're incapable of doing that, I also don't think you're capable of converting any type of game-winning drive in a meaningful game the rest of the season. I know what happened in Pittsburgh. Guess what? Pittsburgh stinks. So you're not able to do that. You know what happened against Buffalo? They made you throw one pass in that game-winning drive. The only time the Jets have been good this year is when he hasn't been part of the solution. He's been told to do the very bare minimum of quarterback has to do of hand the ball off. So I'm out. I'll take Mike White. I'll take Walter White. I'll take my mom. She's white. Anybody else than Zach Wilson. We're done. Okay. And John, RJ Barrett or Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson went 9 of 22 yesterday. I would kill for RJ to go 9 of 22 tonight.
Here's what I'll say.
Come on.
If Zach Wilson wants to be a part of the solution, he would give AVT his elbow and he would give Breece Hall his knee. That's how he could be a part of the solution. Because right now, it's terrible. And RJ Barrett earned a second contract in the NBA. If Zach Wilson earns a second contract in the NFL that's not like a backup contract, I will be very shocked at this point because he's the pits.
Well said. Well said. Okay. We got it out. We got it out, guys. We let it all out for the rest of the night. The Knicks do have a basketball game in a little bit. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this pregame show. Thank you for tuning in, everybody that did. We do this an hour before every Knicks game. My shout out to Mensa and a shout out to XJ. Give them a follow on Twitter and any of their other socials that will still exist. Looks like we've avoided the collapse for now, but you never know. But give them a follow if you can. Their Twitter handles are in their name tags underneath their faces. If you're interested, join us on Playback tonight. Become a KFS patron. The link to our Patreon is underneath our faces here in the description of this video. And me, Benji, and John will be watching the Knicks on Playback, a service that lets us do live watch parties. So sign up for Patreon. They have other perks there. You get access to our Discord as well. You get access to an extra KFS pod every week. Then as the tiers get higher, there's some other perks as well. Okay, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Good luck. Let's go Knicks. Knicks Nation. Let's ride.